Today, I want to talk a little bit about cheap prepping supplies. Are they good? Are they bad? Should you avoid them? We hear all the time in the preparedness community, you either get one side of the aisle, the dollar store prepping stuff, or you get the other side of the aisle, which is you've got to have the biggest, the nicest, the fanciest, the most expensive stuff. So I see this stuff all over the place, and it kind of had a thought pop into my head today. It happens every once in a while. Had a thought pop into my head today. I wanted to talk about it and give my opinions on all of this stuff. So I think it basically it boils down to a few things. And I mean, the first point is, yes, it is always going to be better to have the better supplies. I mean, that is point blank. That's just the way it is. But having something that's cheap, something that doesn't cost a whole lot, is going to be better than than nothing at all, basically. So while I think you should strive to get the best kind of item that you can, I think it's better to have something that's cheap than not have nothing at all. All of this really, depends on your budget as well and why you're being cheap. If you ask Lisa, she'll tell you how cheap I am. I tend to be cheap because I'm looking for different deals and things like that, rather than it being a budget sort of constraint. So you kind of have to catch yourself there as well. I do all the time. I'm getting better, especially with preparedness, because I know that in preparedness, in some sort of disaster situation, you don't want to be relying on those cheap supplies if you don't have to. So you want to, I think of like ferro rods here. Like I've got this huge ferro rod right here. I don't have any of the small cheesy ones, but if you've got one of those real small cheesy ones that come, you can get them with a knife at Walmart or something. One of those is going to work. It is that better than nothing thing. But this, in a disaster type situation, or if I had to start a fire, because this is soft and it's going to throw a lot of sparks, is going to work a whole lot better. But that cheaper ferro rod, still going to get the job done. Maybe not to the extent that the more expensive one would, but it's still going to get the job done. And if it's a budget concern, if it's something, because let's face it, there's a whole lot of stuff when it comes to preparedness that we need to buy. So if it's a budget concern, then yes, you get that small one. It's better than having nothing at all. Another one that comes to mind, I've got all this stuff sitting here because I'm changing out my bug out bag, kind of convenient. But another one comes to mind are folding saws. This is a Silky Gomboy folding saw. Really good folding saw. Three or four times more expensive than an Ozark Trail, something like that you're going to get at Walmart. Is it worth it? In my opinion, absolutely yes. I've done a review on these in the past, and you can see that in the video, if you watch it, just look up folding saw. You can see that this Silky cuts through wood way faster than one of those Ozark Trails that you would get from Walmart. But the Ozark Trail does work. So it is something that, it's better than nothing. So maybe it's an item, something like this, that you just want something like that. And in the future, you plan on upgrading. But for now, it's better than nothing. Bug out bags, the bags themselves, same type of idea. When I first started out prepping, I had a bag that we already had. It was a hiking backpack. It wasn't the greatest. It wasn't the worst. It was used, but it was a place to put all my stuff if I needed it. So kind of the same concept with that. And over the years, I've upgraded a few times to where now I've got this 511 AMP 72 pack that I've been doing a couple videos on, and I'm getting ready to fill up here. That's why all this stuff is here. But I've upgraded over the years. So it's better to have that bag. That way you're not carrying, a box, throwing all your stuff in a box and trying to hoof it. At least you got something to put it in. So a cheaper bag is going to work. And you also need to factor in how often in reality are we using that stuff. And I hesitate to say that because I know that disaster could strike at any moment and you have to be ready at a moment's notice. But honestly, how often do we use our bug out bags other than throw them in the backseat of the car when we're going somewhere, bring it back inside, go through it and sort through it and all that stuff? It's not something that gets used constantly. The odds are we probably have time to get some of this stuff done, which is, that catch-22 in preparedness, because it's that conflicting feeling I get all the time. It's like, yes, things could go well for a while, but something could kick off tomorrow and we just never know. And I think that's where you have to be on this whole situation. So a few things. I've seen a lot of dollar store prepping videos, and some of them are pretty good. I mean, they give you some good ideas. But I want to go through a few of the ones that I think of when it's those lower quality, lower cost prepping supplies. Like I said, cheap prepping supplies. Not necessarily, cheap doesn't necessarily mean just horribly made. Cheap could just be lower cost. Cheap could be something that you find a deal on, things like that. As long as you're not being cheap like me and avoiding those high quality products because you're trying to save a buck or two here or there. Lighters, Bic lighters work fantastic and are far above better than any other lighter out there. As far as those, I think they're Crickets or something like that. Way better than those. But those are better than trying to, start a fire rubbing two sticks together. One of those Cricket lighters may not work all the time, and they may not work for as long, but it's going to be better than, trying to build a friction fire or something like that. So if those are what you get and those are what you can afford, then go for those. Those are better than nothing. But dollar stores, they're going to sell stuff like that. Dollar stores, I think of with a lot of different things that there's some things that are useful, some things that are not. I mean, they have utensils there. It's been a while since I've been in a dollar store. They've got some first aid supplies there, which depending on what those are, those might work. Even if it's just the Band-Aids. I mean, if you don't have Band-Aids and you can't afford the higher quality stuff, then, grab a few of those. But just know that, those supplies that you're getting are not those top-notch supplies that are just going to do the job right. Also with this stuff, like I was mentioning with the lighters, the cost difference between a Bic lighter and, maybe you can get 3 or 4 of those lighters for the same price of a Bic lighter. That's not necessarily a deal, because that Bic lighter is going to last you just as long or maybe even just a little bit less, but it's going to last you kind of the same amount of time, and it's going to be more reliable than those 4 cheaper lighters. So kind of think about that stuff as well. Don't just think, hey, this is $1, so I can get 4 of these for $1, and a Bic lighter is going to cost me $2. And it's not it's apples and oranges with stuff like that. Same thing with first aid supplies and all of that. Some of the stuff at the dollar store you can get that's cheaper, the gauze, the Ace wraps and stuff like that. But you also get a lower quantity. So think about that as well as you're gauging those things out. But not to say that there's not stuff you can get at the dollar store. The dollar stores are pretty good, but I wouldn't be, that's not my one-stop prepping shop, basically. That's if I go there, I'm there with Lisa and she's doing some of her crafting stuff or whatever. I'll look around. I've always got prepping on my brain, so I'll look around and see what kind of things they have and, what might be useful, what might not. They've got kitchen utensils, plastic plates, stuff like that. If you can get a good deal on them, sure. And I mentioned Walmart a little bit earlier, and Walmart is one of those places where you can get some decent low-cost stuff, but it is not the stuff that anytime I get something from Walmart, I do videos, so anytime I get something from Walmart, it's usually to review it or compare it to another item. But if I do get that stuff, if I get that stuff to put in my bug out bag or whatever, it is something that is with the intention of absolutely 100% needing to be upgraded. Because it's just not the best quality stuff. Now, that being said, there are things at Walmart you can get that are going to do the job. You've got some of the fire starters. You've got the emergency blankets. Some of the stuff there is the same quality you're going to get from a lot of sellers on Amazon anyway. So some of the stuff you can get at Walmart. They've got some, I think they're Ozark Trail bags. I don't know exactly what the prices are, but if you don't have a bag, that might be something that you could go for. So Walmart isn't necessarily, I don't know how to put it. Walmart isn't necessarily like that, stay away from it, don't avoid Walmart at all costs. Although when you're talking about putting together a really good bug out bag, when you're talking about putting together really good kits, it sort of is. But like I said in the beginning, and I'm going to go through over and over again, is something is better than nothing. Better is always better, but something is better than nothing. So along with the, kind of along the same lines as the bug out bags and stuff, you've got garage sales that you can possibly find some of that stuff. I found a whole bunch of really good supplies that would help in my preparedness plans from garage sales, stuff that people throw away. They don't even know they had or don't even know the value of it. Now, some of it is kind of junk. Say you get a backpack or something. It's going to be used. You really don't know what you're getting, but if you can get it for, if you can get somebody selling a 511 bag or a nice bag, right? A Maxpedition bag in there, selling it for $10. I'd grab that every day of the week, even though I've got 14 bags here already, because $10 for a $150, $200 bag, that's just a steal. You could also, if you wanted to, if you got 100 bags like me, make a few bucks on this stuff, sell it on eBay, sell it online, and make a few bucks to kind of put into your prepping fund. But garage sales are a great way to find camping gear. I mean, all sorts of different things that would help out in a disaster type situation. Flashlights, all sorts of different things. Garage sales are fantastic for that. You got to kind of pick and choose, and you got to get the right ones, kind of like a dollar store as well. You're going to get what they have in stock at that moment, so you can go back and check everything and see what they've got each time you go. One last thing on this before I get out of here, I wanted to make this quick. Thrift stores are also fantastic, kind of the same lines as garage sales, where you're getting stuff that has been used, but usually thrift stores will put the stuff out that is, quality enough that it's going to sell, and they're not just going to put complete junk out on their display shelves and stuff. So you can get clothes there, you can get books there, entertainment is part of a preparedness library is part of my preparedness plans as well, because if it's just a power outage and you're looking at 12, 14 hours of no power and it's not that disaster type situation, you're going to need something to do. Eventually the phones are going to run dead, and so having books and board games and stuff like that is always good. Again, thrift stores with the camping supplies, clothing, I mean, all sorts of different things. You just never know what you're going to find at a thrift store. I'm the same way at a thrift store as I am at the dollar store. I'll go in and, put my prepper hat on, and that's all I'm looking at is different types of things. Water bottles, stainless steel water bottles, utensils, camping utensils, all those different things, and just kind of going through the shelves and seeing what I can use. Shoot, old microwaves is kind of a Faraday cage. I mean, you just never know. So basically, prepping doesn't have to be, to wrap all of this up, prepping doesn't have to break the bank. You do want the best supplies that you possibly can, I suppose. And that really depends on your budget and how if you're just first starting out, it may be that type of situation where you do just want to go get just a whole bunch of stuff, and rather than spending $500, $600, $700 on all of this stuff that you're reading about online, this really top of the line stuff, maybe you go get a bunch of these things that are either used or lower cost, and that way at least you have them there, and then you can, each one of those you can individually kind of upgrade over time. And then eventually you're going to have some pretty good stuff. Knives, with me, I don't have my knife right here right now, but knives with me are a big one. That's something that I really want, a really good quality knife. And I've got a bunch of knives because of that, because I've found this, and then I wanted that, and I wanted this. But there's some low-cost options as well. And for as often as you would probably use a knife, depending on who you are, it really doesn't make any sense, especially in the very beginning, to go out and get a $200 knife when you can go to Walmart or Mora, make some really cheap knives. Just make sure you're getting the right type of knife. Make sure if you get a fixed blade knife, it's full tang, meaning it's not two different pieces. And research the stuff and know what you need to kind of jump up to the next level, what you're going to do. So That's one last thing. I know I said I was going to get out of here, but something just popped in my head. Another thing with all of this is that before you go out and spend all sorts of money on something, before you go out and spend $200 on a knife, make sure you understand what you're looking for in that knife. Before you go out and spend a whole bunch of money on a water filter, make sure you understand all the ins and outs of that, because as you go through your preparedness journey, and those of us that have been doing this a while know exactly what I'm saying. As you go through it a little while, you see something that looks like, this is exactly what I need. This is fantastic. I can't wait to get something like that. And then as you learn more about that subject, whatever that supply is, you figure out that, okay, this is not going to work. This sucks. I was too excited about this. I jumped the gun and I just wasted, $50. So know what you're getting into first. So don't jump the gun and then just go full bore into the latest, greatest stuff, because you may find out down the line that you don't need it, or that money could have better been spent somewhere else. So at any rate, I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on this, everyone's thoughts watching the video. I know that it's really that tough situation where you have to balance out that you need that quality supply, but you got to be able to afford it, basically. I mean, if you can't buy it, then something that's not as high quality it's going to do you better than having nothing at all. So at any rate, I appreciate it, everyone. Until next time, we'll talk to you later. Take care and prepare.